Now, let me give you 3 warnings in Scripture, very fast here, about following Jesus. Number 1 is Jesus is not real big on giving excuses. This is just one example. There are actually other examples like, well, I just got married or this or that. He said to another man in Luke, "Follow me." And he replied, "Lord, let me first go and bury my father." Now, it's not like he's doing a funeral that day. He's kind of saying, look, my dad's older, and I don't know if he has a couple years left, or a couple months, or, let me take care of my parents, my dad, Father's Day, and then when I'm free and he goes to heaven, then I'm going to follow you, Jesus. And like I said, there's all kinds of excuses. I hear it all the time. Are you going to serve the Lord? Are you going to follow Jesus, Pastor? As soon as this situation occurs, as soon as I finish college, as soon as I get my job up and running, as soon as my kids are a little bit older, then I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to be, no. Follow him now. Jesus doesn't like the excuses. Follow the Lord. Number 2 is don't start following religious men. This is definitely the sin of older Christians somewhat, as you begin to follow men and men's books and writings and theology. Now, you would think, this is the Apostle Paul writing this. Who would we say is the greatest theologian of the New Testament? Paul. So you would think Paul would think it is such a compliment for women to say, I follow the Apostle Paul. You can't get a better theologian than him. And yet Paul writes, really? Really? You're following me? You're following Apollos? You're going to follow Peter? And the correct answer there, and the way it's kind of written, is so many people are like, I follow Paul, I follow Peter, and there's a few people that say, I follow Jesus. That's the correct answer. I follow Jesus. When you die, men, women, I hope at the pulpit, or I hope at your funeral, the pastor doesn't say, oh, this was such a godly man. He followed Pastor Joe in his sermons all the time. You can put any name in there you want. But I sure hope that instead of being known for some TV evangelist, some theologian that wrote 400 years ago, 200 years ago, 30 years ago, I hope that your relatives say, he was a follower of Jesus, and not he was a follower of so-and-so. He watched so-and-so on TV. He read so-and-so's books. Do you understand? Joe Toomey didn't die for you. Paul goes, I didn't die for you. You weren't baptized in my name. You are a follower of Jesus. During 400 years ago, there was a great division among the church. What a shame, between Calvinism and Arminianism. And the Christians divided. I follow Calvin. Others say, I follow Arminian. What sin? What sin? There was a group, I'm reading this book, The 50 Great Preachers, and there was a group, a smaller group that said, we follow Jesus. We don't follow all the theological stuff where suddenly people are known by the name of some other human. Come on, get real. We follow Jesus. Don't mess this up. Number 3 is don't follow at a distance. So in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and it's implied in John, and the last days, Jesus goes in. The Apostle John is right with Jesus. The Apostle John is right with Jesus at the cross. But Peter, we're told, followed at a distance, warmed himself up in the world's fire, kind of downplaying. He doesn't want to be known as one of those radical believers. I'm a believer, but he wants to blend in. Don't you know Jesus? Oh, don't associate me. You're following Jesus from a distance. Yeah, don't do that. You're going to mess up. When you follow Jesus at a distance, you're going to wind up doing stuff, saying stuff that you're going to regret. Stay close to Jesus when you're following him.